Welcome to our June Lunch and Learn on adult family support for the Arizona Peer and Family Career Academy. Real quick, we're going to go over some Zoom basics. I know many of you are familiar with Zoom, so this should be very, very quick. But just as a reminder, as we are presenting, feel free, if you're not actively speaking with us, to please put yourself on mute so we don't have any fun background noise. You are welcome to have your camera on. It will help us as we are engaging in dialogue. I think that this Lunch and Learn is going to have a lot more back and forth discussion, which I'm really excited about. Feel free to raise your hand to speak so that way we can call on you, but you're also welcome to unmute yourself during this presentation for that open dialogue. And we will be utilizing the chat feature as well. So that is found either as a chat button or located within the more, depending on what version of Zoom you are utilizing. So I would love it if everybody would take a moment to introduce yourself in the chat and share your name, your title, what organization you work for, and our icebreaker question of the day is, who is the first person you call when something happens, good or bad? And so I am Haley Winterberg. I'm the executive director here at the Arizona Peer and Family Career Academy. And the first person I call when something happens is my husband and then my best friend. And sometimes it's simultaneously. A text message might be happening to both of them at the same time, or I'm on the phone with one, texting the other, who knows, but making sure that they're always the first ones I'm talking to.
Thanks, Haley. Should I go next?
Yeah, you're welcome to introduce yourself out loud, or you can post it in the chat. We've got a pretty small group today, so I think we actually could do it out loud as well.
Yeah, I started to go chat, and then I said, nah, we'll just talk about it. So my name's John Anglin. I am the Special Projects Advisor, which is kind of an umbrella position at Arizona Complete Health in the Office of Individual and Family Affairs. I'm the adult member advocate. I'm also a facilitator of peer support training and family support training, certified in both. Who the first person I call? I'm a pretty self-sufficient person. I don't have, I'm deficient in my supports. I reluctantly call my brother though when I need help. He's my go-to. He's not always down to help, but that's who I call. Thanks, Haley. Welcome, everybody. Great to see you.
John, thanks for sharing. Hi, everybody. My name is Jamie Green, and I am both a family support specialist and a peer support specialist. I have been trained and provided that support both in our system. I currently work at Access in the Office of Individual and Family Affairs. And it was such a great question when Haley shared that. So who is the first person that I call when something happens, good or bad? I'm kind of like John at first. I think I just sort of process. And then I reach out, I would say, to my sister or my cousin. Those are my go-tos. So great question, Haley. And it looks like we have quite a bit of feedback in the chat.
Yeah. Looks like we've got a large team here from Family Involvement Center, so welcome. Thank you. We've got Krista Lutz, who is a BHT. She calls her aunt or her mom. Terry Holloway, I think, has one of the best responses yet. It depends on what answer I want as to who I call. I think that is the winning response.
I just read that. I couldn't agree more.
Possibly the most truthful response, right?
Yes. And then we have Adria also from Avant. We've got a lot of amazing people joining us today. So thank you all for joining our Lunch and Learn. So I think most of you on this call know who PFCA is, but those that will be watching this recording later, the Arizona Peer and Family Career Academy, our mission is to inspire recovery and wellness through professional development, through providing continuing education in order to equip emerging leaders and strengthen the peer and family support workforce. All of that in short to say, we really exist to support our peer and family support specialists and the amazing organizations that provide such meaningful services to our community. And how do we do that? By offering many different awesome trainings on forensic support, which is navigating the criminal justice system, self-care, hope and healing in the opioid use crisis, our abilities, differences, and inclusion, which is understanding the developmental disability system, effective advocacy, motivational leadership, as well as these amazing monthly lunch and learns that are done on a variety of topics. We also have our peer-to-peer coaching program, which is an opportunity for our workforce to get the support that they need. This is an opportunity for both our employed peer and family support specialists to connect with specially trained coaches, to share kind of what is going on in their life and kind of get some additional support. We have virtual groups on Wednesday evenings every month, as well as we have one-to-one coaching available. And with that, I'd love to see who we have in the room. So I'm going to launch a poll real quick to see what role you currently have within our system. So please share with us, are you a peer support specialist, a family support, or parent partner, a supervisor of peer or family support specialist, a social worker, or a community member? And you can choose multiple. I know for me, I have been able to check almost all of these. So it's been a journey of life. All right, it looks like we've got a pretty good mixture here in the group. We've got a peer support specialist, we've got some family support specialists, we have a supervisor in the room, and then we've got some community members. So welcome everybody. I am super excited to share this presentation and introduce our two presenters. We have Jamie Green and John Anglin presenting on family support services. I couldn't be more excited about this topic and how do we share more about family support services and how to access it. So with that, I'm going to pass it over to our amazing presenters, Jamie and John, and the floor is yours.
Why, thank you, Haley.
Yes, thank you so much, Haley. And thank you everyone attending here. And thanks for sharing what your role is with us in the system. I love to see that we have such a mixture of those attending who are interested in family support services. Haley, you can go ahead and advance to the next slide. And John, go ahead.
Why, thank you. I am extremely excited to see how many people identified as community members on the call. I find that very exciting. That's how we know we're really getting the message out. I hope everybody brought their discussion voices with them because we're really looking forward to getting some input from you guys and really cementing this information. Like I said, my name is John Anglin. I am the Special Projects Advisor. I'm the Adult Member Advocate with Arizona Complete Health. I am a credentialed family support partner, and I also co-facilitate our family support credentialing training. Miss Jamie.
Thanks, John. And again, hello, everybody. Jamie Green. I am the Healthcare Advocacy Coordinator with Access, or Arizona Healthcare Cost Containment Systems, and I work in the Office of Individual and Family Affairs, or OIFA, as we all like to call it for short. Because if you're in behavioral health, you know that we like to shorten everything that we can. So OIFA it is.
We love our acronyms.
We love our acronyms. In fact, it's probably one of the first things you're given when you're starting in employment. Here is an acronym sheet. Okay, so today's overview of the presentation on adult family support. John and I really wanted to just narrow it down to three objectives that we feel strongly about and that the message can be shared freely. Why choose family support? Benefits of family support, and then the outcomes of family support services. And so as we walk through today's presentation, we hope to be able to explain each of these to you. And if at any time you have questions, use your hand, raise your hand or jump in chat or even off microphone, because we would love to hear from you. So why family support? Go ahead, Haley, advance to the next slide for me, please. When we talk about why using family support, really what we're talking about is helping to meet the need of the member and the family. That's really important. Family support services are individualized, they're recovery-based, and they focus on the overall recovery of the family unit. It's important to understand that in the adult system of care, the family unit is any individual over the age of 18 that the member has identified as being family. And so that could be their mom or dad, brother, sister, uncle, cousin, best friend, someone who lives next door who helps them manage their care. And so that's what we're talking about when meeting the need of the family, that it's very individualized to the member. Just really quick, by a show of hands, or even just a thumbs up sign, how many of you come from family? Me, yeah. Yes, thanks, Haley. We all do. We all start. Yes, Krista, thank you. Perfect. Then I just know that I'm in the right place and you guys are the right audience. We're talking about families and we all have them. When discussing meeting the family's needs and providing family support services, we're talking about matching that support, those services, and even education and prevention that are specific to the family and what they're currently going through at that moment. And how do we help keep our natural supports in our members' lives? I think about my own family, and I know it operates much different than many of your guys' families. And the supports and services that we might need are going to look differently. A family support partner who's providing a credentialed family support partner, somebody who's been specifically trained, can come in and help that family navigate exactly right where they're at with whatever challenge they might be encountering in their family. So again, those services are going to look completely different. Yeah, John.
If I may, family support is almost a way of acknowledging the environment and the input on somebody's wellness. And even if I could meet with the person every single day for an hour a day, there's still another 23 hours a day where they're being impacted and influenced by these other factors, including the family culture. So it's kind of an awareness that if we're able to engage with that family culture, then we can increase a person's wellness.
Yeah, it's really important that as you're engaging with the family and the member, you're recognizing that culture, right? Those differences. And we actually have a question for you. Haley, you can go on to the next screen, to the next slide. These are just some questions that John and I would like for you to consider and perhaps use chat to help have some discussion. What are
So
some family dynamics that you have experienced that could contribute to increased member and family conflict and stress? I know John and I can name quite a few, but for those of you who are providing the support, is there something that you could share that you know contributes stress and conflict within the families that you serve?
or even in your own family. Think about your own family dynamics and maybe some of the not so healthy stuff that can happen in our households. Like what are some of those things that can contribute to conflict and stress and an unhealthy family dynamic? Now,
Well,
I know we haven't all been raised in these leave it to beaver fully functional families. I know we got to have some dysfunction around here.
I was thinking, wow, we have some really, really well families. This is fantastic. I can say I was raised in a family that used higher voices, yelling, right? My mom would just yell. And so that is just sort of a natural learned behavior. But I also have family members who are very sensitive to yelling, right? And that is it just doesn't work with them. I see some hands up. So I think it was Veronica for you.
Victoria.
Victoria.
Yeah. The way I was raised is like I wasn't allowed to say anything. My mom was mom, so we had to respect my mom and never talk back to her. But we weren't allowed to express our feelings and our emotions. And if we did, we were supposed to just keep it inside, not even show it to nobody. And we just had to be quiet and stuff. And what I try to do, because my mom learned that from her mom and her mom from her mom. But what I did with my kids, I asked them, like, if you want to say something to me, if you don't feel good, talk to me. So I tried to break that because I wasn't allowed to talk to my mom if I had something going on. I wasn't allowed to, how you say, like if when I was mad because something happened at school, I wasn't allowed to show it. I wasn't allowed to talk about it. I had to deal with it and just let it happen and then just keep it inside. So I know I'm trying to help my kids not to be like that with their kids and me with my kids.
Nice. It's kind of hard to get your needs met that way, right? When you're not able to express yourself.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. Your emotional needs, your physical needs, all of that can suffer. Thank you. Good example.
Thank you for sharing. Samara.
So I'm a yeller as well. And addressing it and going forward in my life, I have an adult child who I parented like that, who now parents like that. And I have a younger child that we all live together, and I have a completely different means of parenting. So my more positive parenting is kind of causing dysfunction. I don't know if that makes sense to anyone, but yeah. I mean, definitely. And if dysfunction isn't the word, it's definitely a struggle. But that's, yeah.
Yes. And this is why we talk about family culture, because even as and we'll use the phrase dysfunctional or as unhealthy, as difficult as that culture may be to get our needs met, we still may resist changing it because it is the culture that we know. That's a really good point. Even when you're trying to bring in improvements, you're getting resistance.
Yeah, exactly. And I think both of you touched on it. It is generational. Some of this we just bring with us, just like our parents brought with them, and really learning how do we become aware of this, just like you shared, Samara, like, wow, I have a different way to do this now. But even within a generational home, it's causing some conflict. So yes, it can be generational.
So if I may, if we go back to what Victoria shared about a person who's unable to express that, why we don't process things in this house, right? You rub some dirt on it, you do what you got to do, and we don't really want to hear about it. So let's talk about if we're working with somebody and a member that we're working with that is experiencing that in their household? How might that contribute to their wellness, or is that something that you think could be addressed? Is that going to have an effect on what we do, on their mental health?
Can I?
Victoria?
Yeah.
Yep.
For me, it would, because like I grew up not being able to say what I wanted to say. So
Right.
like I'm an adult already. I have kids, I have grandkids, I have great grandkids now, but I'm barely learning how to speak and say, hey, I don't like what you're doing. Hey, I'm not comfortable with what you're saying. You know, I couldn't say that. Every time what I learned is like, when you go out and somebody says, oh no, you're not doing it that way, you're doing it that way. So I just stay quiet, not say nothing, not say, hey, this ain't, you know, maybe we can try it this way. I wasn't taught that. So I learned how not to speak up and just say like, okay, I didn't like what you guys were talking about, or I didn't appreciate that you were talking this to this person. You know, I wasn't able to do that. Now I'm learning that I'm getting older, and I'm just like, hey, it's okay to be wrong. It's okay to do something bad. And it's not bad, super bad, but like something that you didn't know was going to turn out bad. It's okay. And you can learn from your mistakes. I wasn't taught that. And I think if I would have learned all that and I had more understanding of to be okay, it's okay to be yourself, I think I would have not gone into the situations that I went through.
Yeah, and Victoria, what if we were working together and I was trying to teach you how to set some boundaries? Because it sounds like you weren't allowed to set boundaries, right?
Yeah.
So if I'm a case manager, a recovery coach, and I'm working with you and I'm trying to convince you, I'm trying to empower you to go home and set some boundaries with your family, it's not going to work out too well in that household, is it?
No.
What would have happened?
I just like, I mean, I would go home and I'll be trying to tell my kids, and then like I don't think it would work, because for me, because I'm not the kind of person that would say, well, maybe we should try it that way, because that's not what I was taught. But like I said, now I'm learning, now I'm understanding. So now I can come and I say, well, let's sit down and talk about it. Like being like with my kids, me being mom, like, because I seen from my mom is I was always telling my kids, you're not going to do this, you're not going to do that. But now I tell them, it's like, so what is it that you want to do in your life? What do you want to get out of your life? So I would try to go home and try to appreciate their understanding and not try to make them feel like you have to listen to me.
Beautiful.
Yeah. Cycle. Very cool.
Yeah, exactly. Learning that's awareness. Go ahead, and Haley, if you want to advance to the next slide. Really, we just really touched on a lot of these that happen in family culture. Some of the list of things or behaviors, skills, techniques that are passed on from family, poor communication skills, boundaries, lack of boundaries, not even knowing that you're allowed to have boundaries. Severe power differentials, really having like what you shared about having a mom who said, no, I'm the mom and that's the way it goes. Definitely, how many of us grew up in a household like that? Like, we're the parents and you do as I say, and not even as I do. I think I remember hearing that a lot as a child, do as I say, not as I do. And, you know, I had children to do blank. And so powerlessness, that learned helplessness.
It's fun. I thought my dad invented that phrase. It's great to hear the other parents use it.
Handling and managing in family cultures, co-occurring issues with multiple family members. Sometimes those can be often undiagnosed or untreated too. And so we're dealing with families often in the same homes who have mental health challenges and diagnosis, and then trying to get everybody to be well at the same time. Sometimes this can be a lot of stress on a family culture. Social determinants of health, that's a big one. I think we could spend all day here as people who have provided this support on what affects a family.
Yeah,
Before we go,
I just wanted to say, especially when you're in different stages of your healing. So I always struggled, when you're fresh out of addiction, you weather all these things, and then you're kind of like, so is it mental health or addiction? Then when you kind of pan that out, and for me specifically, then I went into an environment with my other family members who aren't even in a healing process. And so it's kind of puts me in a stuck a little bit. In a way, it's an easy reminder of where I was and where I don't want to go, and how I can work extra hard to not go there or be that way. However, it is hard to maintain healthy behaviors. There we go. Healthy behaviors when there's so much inconsistencies going on.
yes,
Yes.
very good point. Thank you very much. Yes. Out of which, I mean, that's the perfect kind of segue. And
Absolutely.
yes. So the benefits of family support. What can a family support do about any of this? What are some of the skills that can be? Let's say if we can go back to Miss Victoria's example. Let's say I'm a peer support, and I'm working with Victoria, and I'm working with her, helping her to get her needs met at home, express herself, and set boundaries with her loved ones, right? It doesn't sound like maybe her family is too open or accepting of boundaries. So it might be helpful if somebody else came in and worked with the family to say, hey, Victoria's been having a really hard time because she's not able to process the things that she needs to process, and she's not able to express herself the way she needs to. Maybe we can come up with some things, some little tools that we can use to help Victoria out, and that way we all kind of move along a little better. How's that? Right? So it wouldn't do me a whole lot of good to teach Victoria how to set boundaries if the family isn't accepting of it or open to it. Right? So the family support can fill that gap.
Yes.
In that example that we heard.
Definitely having a family support, even coming in at first and saying, oh man, I understand it's difficult sometimes to manage my own well-being when I'm also helping a family member. And just even giving that family member that outlet, much like you get from the peer support, right? That direct experience of, I know what it's like. And here's what's helped me: setting boundaries. I learned how to set boundaries as a family member with my member family, and they did too, right? And so that's one of those just great benefits.
Absolutely. Samara, did you have your hand up again, or is that the same hand?
I did not. That's the same hand. I will lower.
All
right. Thank you.
All right. That's fair. What else? What are some other skills? What are some other benefits that family supports can bring to a family? And George made the point in chat that maybe the family is dealing with substance abuse issues, alcoholism, or something of that regard. Is that something a family support can help address? Right? In multiple ways. And Samara brought up the point that, different people in the family may be at different stages of change, right? Maybe there's some substance abuse in the family with somebody who's in pre-contemplation and they don't really see a problem, not considering change. Even in that situation, is that something a family support could help with?
So I
Yeah.
don't want to date myself, but I remember when we were first talking about rolling out adult family support, years and years ago. And I remember being so excited by the process because at that point in my life, I have adult children now that are in their 30s. And then my partner and I are doing foster and adoption. So we have little ones. And that was not the case at the time. I just had the older kids and they were all, you know, like 18, 19, 20, kind of in that age. But not only was I raising them and trying to understand things like diagnoses of schizophrenia and things that I hadn't experienced in my own life. And I had a similar, life situation where, my dad was always like, suck it up, don't tell anybody your problems, figure it out on your own, those kinds of things. So it almost was like I was supporting multiple generations of people and I didn't know how to process it myself. So to have at that point, and I had a family support partner in the children's system back in the day, and I also became one. But what I really needed was someone who could help me figure out how life changed as my kids became adults. And where did I stand in their world of services and maybe SMI designations and things like that? I had zero idea. And so to me, bringing those kinds of skills and understanding to a family and another parent or person who's gone through watching someone you love fall down the rabbit hole and not know what to do. And that, I think that in itself was tremendous.
I thank you so much for sharing that. I love that perspective, and that I like the idea that the family support brings that empathy for the family. Families, most of our they want to help us. They don't always know how. Families deal with depleted reserves. Sometimes, yes, okay, I deal with this once a month when you come in the office, but a family sometimes is dealing with these behaviors day after day, year after year. And you may talk to a family about empathy and they'll say, look, you know what, I had empathy 10 years ago and I'm just over it at this point, right? Sometimes family need help understanding what they're experiencing, because to me, this is just something annoying that you're doing. But in all actuality, this may be a trauma response to a situation, or it may be a symptom of something that's going on, and the family could benefit from understanding what's happening. So kind of like a behavior translator in a way, right? While at the same time validating that family, validating for the compassion fatigue that they must be experiencing, for the years of persistence that they've had to establish in order to get where they are now. So that validation and having that empathy and kind of helping families to remove blame and shame from their communication. All of these are wonderful benefits that a family support can bring to a family culture.
Looks like Krista shared in the chat that some of the other benefits that a family support could bring are resources to fellowship and 12-step programs, Al-Anon, listening and reflecting, maybe even learning some motivational interviewing, preparing for parent-adult-child discussions on money, on school, on relationships. As Terry was discussing, on transitioning out. I now have no minor children. This is my first summer in 29 years to not have a minor. That doesn't mean that they don't still have their diagnosis. They still do, and we're still learning how to navigate. And so, perfect examples. Thank you for sharing that.
Yes, I love it. And the Al-Anon's a great one because families, they may not even be aware of it. Sometimes it's just helping them understand the resources that are available to them so they can take advantage of it. Maybe getting them involved in Al-Anon is the step that needed to be taken in order to make that progress. I like listening and reflecting. Yes, Yes, just talking to somebody who knows what I'm going through, who isn't gonna tell me to, well, you need to crack down on them. You need to nip it in the bud. Someone that's gonna understand what I'm trying to do, right? What I'm trying to teach my children, that I'm trying to help create healthy adults to go out into the community, into the world. I love it. Money, another one. Absolutely. Poverty can be a cause of trauma, a source of generational trauma, and helping people break those cycles and learn budgeting and money techniques. I mean, all of the, and relationships, like, these are great examples, Krista. Perfect point. Health literacy. Maybe in my household, we got a pretty good deal of stigma around schizophrenia. And a few months ago, somebody in the household was diagnosed with schizophrenia. And now we don't know what to do. Do we correct them? Do we not? Are they dangerous? Are they not? Like, what does this mean? What does this mean that now it's in my household, right? Health literacy, helping people understand what is the diagnosis, what does it mean, what are the medications, things like that. Self-care. Oh my gosh! Not only helping people plan for self-care, but even the basic realization that it's okay. You know what? It's okay that you're this person's mother and you still need a break. Like, it's okay to feel that way.
Yes.
Sometimes just that validation can be what a family needs to move forward.
Teaching self-care often, a family support sometimes might have to just teach how to take a break, how to read a book, how to take, just a nice hour outside to reconnect.
Yes. And then I want to touch on this last one, action planning. Oh my gosh, to sit down with the family when they are not in crisis and help them come up with a plan for the next crisis or to prevent the next crisis could be something that nobody's ever sat down, not nobody ever, but in this family hasn't sat down and conceptualized before. So I just think of my family when I was young. It's hard for me to even imagine something like this happening, maybe at the kitchen table, and actually coming up with a plan and saying, when I stop walking the dogs and I start wearing the same clothes for 3 days in a row, you might want to check in on me. Simple things like that can help a family avoid a crisis. Or when Jamie goes into crisis, it's not helpful for me to say, oh, here she goes again, right? It would be more helpful if I were to say, are you okay? What's going on? Right? We can teach simple little techniques like that can make a big difference between escalating a situation or de-escalating. All tools. Again, we can easily spend all day on the tools and the skills and the resources and the benefits that family supports can bring to a family. But I think we're hitting home on that. I think we're getting the picture. Credentialed family support partners. I want to emphasize the credentialed piece. On top of the lived experience is phenomenal. You can't match lived experience, but somebody who's been taught how to use that lived experience in a proven effective ways is what a credentialed family support brings. You don't have to worry about any toxic nuance. Well, I guess you still do, but they're minimized when somebody has been credentialed and fully trained. Anything? What's that? I missed it. All right, next up, Haley. Outcomes. All right, so now let's think about these families. All right, we've gone from no boundaries, we're authoritative, our language is blamey and shamey. We don't process conflict. Family support has come in and they've taught us not only how to set boundaries, but how to accept boundaries. They've taught the family that boundaries are not rejection, right? Boundaries are there to preserve our relationships and things like that, so that we learn how to kind of dance with each other, right? What are some of the potential outcomes? What are some of the potential decreased outcomes? There you go. You came on camera, Terry, and I knew you were gonna.
I think there are so many outcomes. But I think most importantly, it's the idea of sitting next to somebody who understands where you're sitting. And that may mean absolutely nothing. It may mean that you're just sitting quietly together, kind of figuring out that, life is hard, but you're not in it alone. It might mean, when you guys were talking about like taking care of yourself and self-care and all those things, that seems really obvious to people. But sometimes I can tell you, for me, when I was in those situations, I wouldn't have known how to take care of myself if you painted it on the wall. I had no idea that it was even possible, because there was so much crisis in my life all of the time that I was constantly putting out fires. And if I wasn't putting out fires, I was exhausted. And it takes energy to take care of yourself. And so just having someone sit next to you and say, we don't have to do anything right now. We can breathe and we can just think of what are we going to do tomorrow, or, whatever. I think all of those things are really, really important. And those are skills that, folks with this lived life experience can bring differently than anybody else.
Perfect. Even knowing that that's enough. Amazing skill. Even knowing that I don't have to fill this space with anything other than support right now, other than my presence, is a skill in itself. I love that. Very good point. Yes, and just think about that, the ripple effect that can have on the family and the children as they go to school and they interact with their friends, and then the adults as they go and they interact throughout the day with their coworkers. Absolutely. George says in the chat, decrease crises. 100%. If we can talk to a family and teach a family how to de-escalate, how to, even if we can teach a family how to not escalate, even if I can't teach you how to de-escalate, maybe I can teach you how to not escalate. And maybe that will even be helpful, right? Maybe that can keep us out of the hospital, out of the jails, right? Or out of homelessness. I can't tell you how many times I've been in meetings and we're discussing people's housing, and I hear phrases like, well, the sister doesn't want them to come back in when they get out of the hospital. And I'll say, has anybody offered them family support? And they say, what's that? And I say, well, it's probably the service that's going to prevent this person from being homeless. So, I mean, it's an underutilized resource, I think, that can really, we're talking about preventing emergency room visits, inpatient psychiatric stays, again, homelessness, incarceration, short-term, long-term incarceration. how many people are doing long-term sentences for something that was a result of some kind of emotional or mental health crisis, right? That could have been de-escalated. Excellent. Family empowerment, right? Teaching families that you're not doing it all wrong. That's one of the things that I have. It's one of the reluctancies. It's one of the judgments I have about myself, I guess, is that I'm doing this all wrong. And I may feel good about it while it's happening, but every once in a while I stop and I kind of look back at the past week or so and I say, man, I'm screwing a lot of things up. So it's nice to have somebody come in and say, no, you're doing all right. And more importantly, you're trying hard, right? And you want to do well. Absolutely. And I can't emphasize the communication styles enough. Just teaching families how to communicate is not something that they're just going to use in their household now. This is going to radiate out. This is going to have that ripple effect. This is going to improve their employment, their schooling, their education. If they are better equipped to set boundaries and effectively communicate with people, we just have a healthier community in general. Any other feedback about that?
I think the other thing, I think the other thing that you mentioned was, sitting in those meetings. And I think that even people who have great articulation skills, or people who even been doing this work or understand, sometimes you're in a meeting about your own person that you love and you don't have words. And sometimes because the family support has developed a relationship with you, they know how to help you bring that up or help you articulate it. And I think about one of the best things that a family support partner did for me at one point, way back in the day. And as she was sitting next to me in a meeting that was clearly about things that, like, my kid was going to go to prison and those kinds of things, like they're talking about those things. And she looks at my face, and then in the next breath, they ask me what his strengths are, right? And she looks at them and she is like, you know what? I think we're done for today. We're going to reschedule this meeting. And I couldn't have said that. I was just bawling. I couldn't say anything. But she's like, let's just try this again later. And it made a world of difference, because I was feeling like I could have just, I don't know, fallen off the face of the earth. It was bad.
You were drained. Your reserves were drained, and she recognized it and advocated for you. I love it. Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect.
And modeled too, perhaps in the future, right? How to recognize in ourselves, like, wait, this might not be the right time to have this conversation. I'm having too much emotion. I love that you talk about that, right? Because while we're in our own family's care, navigating the system, sometimes our words can fail us, or the next steps. And so having that extra support.
Next slide, Haley. Miss Jamie?
Yeah, I mean, I think we've heard some families say this, but this is just some quotes that have come to me directly, either in some research or from some of our providers. A family said, I don't know what I would have done without her, because there were many times that I probably would have just given up. And I know that as a family member, a mom who's navigated, and now an adult mom, there are times that's very real. And having somebody validate, like, I'm here with you, as you said, Terry. Again, family support was invaluable and set the tone for my son and I to move forward. It's always been positive and helped my son and I to live together more peacefully. Never in a million years would I thought this could happen. I can only imagine the amount of disruption in that family's life, just from experience, until you have somebody who can come in and say, wait, there's a way to help support. Here are just a few of those outcomes. Go ahead, John.
Well, I think we covered this pretty well. I don't know that Yeah.
How to access family support. This is the third takeaway from today, especially for those of you who are coming from community. How can either a family member or a member that you know or are working with access family support services? They can ask their service provider wherever they're receiving care. So if they're getting therapy, or they're getting peer support, or they're getting medication management, maybe even their medical care, they can ask for family support to be added to their treatment plan. An individual can always contact one of the OIFAs at the health plans, and I have contact information for you to be able to do that. And so if you're working with a member and you just don't know, you can just pull up the back of their health card or their health card and look at the number and contact Access directly, contact that number and they'll connect. And family support services can be provided by various agencies throughout the state: behavioral health clinics, health homes, family-run organizations, peer-run organizations. It's a service that's available and needs to be available when families ask for it. On our Access website, we have this locating family support services by county. And so if you happen to be supporting families, or you're in a county other than Pima or Maricopa, perhaps you're up in Mojave, you can click on the map and it'll bring up the information for you to call to be able to access family support services. You can move to the next slide, Haley. Statewide warm lines for families. This is a warm line operated by Family Involvement Center, or FIC, and it's operated between 8 and 6 Monday through Friday, and 8 and noon Saturday and Sunday. And it's a warm line to just get some support. Perhaps you were working with some families and maybe from time to time they need somebody else to talk to. Maybe there's services that you're not able to help meet. You can reach out to FIC Statewide Warm Line. And presenter contact. This is just how you can get a hold of both John and myself. We can make sure that Haley sends a slide deck out to you guys with our phone numbers and email addresses. And I want to say the next slide is just our OIFA administrators. Yes, this is that very important piece of information. I think of all of the slide decks, if you had one resource, this is it right here. It is an OIFA administrator at all of the health plans for the state or their inboxes. And if you have any questions around supporting members and families, you can start here or end here. Contributors, well, this wouldn't have been made possible without all of our health plans. And so I just want to say thank you to all of our contributors and all of you, really, you guys attending. Thank you for learning more about family support and engaging with us.
Spread the word.
Yes.
Thank you all. Thank you everybody for coming and participating.
Yes, and before anybody disappears, I have a few PFCA announcements. I am wanting to invite you all to a mixer. I've had a lot of people say, hey, when are you doing another mixer in Phoenix? I've been in Flagstaff and Tucson. Well, I'm going to be in Phoenix again, so hopefully I'm not all by myself. We will be at the Culinary Dropout on 7th Street in Bethany Home on Thursday, June 23rd from 5 to 7. Again, we're covering appetizers. Who doesn't like some free food? So hopefully we will see you there. Please RSVP online so that way I make sure we've got a table enough to fit all of us. And I'm super excited to see you all there. It's going to be on Thursday, June 23rd. We also have another Hope and Healing and the Opioid Use Crisis course coming up on July 6th from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., as well as a forensics peer support course on July 18th from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., some traditional hours. And then we have our raffle. So I'm super excited that you all have hung out with us this long. And I have inserted your names in the spinning wheel. So we shall see who's going to win this Amazon gift card. Let's see who's going to be the winner. Let's see what name pops up. Victoria. Awesome, Victoria. If you could please email me a good address to send your gift card to, that would be greatly appreciated. As always, we want to make sure everyone connects to our PFCA website, our newsletter, to stay connected with upcoming events and like us on social media. We want to thank you all for coming. Appreciate you so much. We could not continue to do our amazing work without the amazing peer and family support specialists and community members. Thank you, Jamie and John, for your amazing presentation and being so interactive with everyone today. You guys did fantastic. I know I enjoyed your presentation on adult family support and the discussion you created. So thank you so much.